So these lightning bolts are not normal lightning bolts. They are specifically SS lightning bolts.
What do you mean the Taylor Swift dog whistle necklace is worse than we thought?
Just when you think online discourse about Taylor Swift couldn't get more unhinged, Swifties find a way. We're going to break down the latest insane controversy in the land of Taylor Swift fandom and hatred, I guess, and so much more on today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, my daily show, where we take on the craziest things going on social media and the internet, all from an independent perspective. Guys, we previously talked about what I consider the very absurd meltdown on some corners of TikTok, very popular corners of TikTok, by the way. We're not talking about just a few videos or just a couple 100,000 views. No, we're talking about massive popular discourse policing so-called microaggressions in Taylor's latest album. I gave y'all my take on that. I think it is ridiculous and absurd and all fake. But they've now come up with something else that's actually more absurd. They've really outdone themselves. There are now TikTok after TikTok getting millions and millions and millions of views of people unironically, 1000% seriously claiming that they have proven that Taylor Swift is actually a Nazi, like a literal Nazi, because of a necklace she just dropped in her merch line. I'm really not kidding. This is actually what they're saying. We're going to go through it and some things about it that don't quite add up, and so much more. Without further ado, let's start taking a look at the first video here. One of the first videos on it that kind of it helped to kick off this controversy.
So Taylor Swift just put out a necklace on her merch website promoting her newest single off her new album, The Life of a Showgirl, and that necklace, I'll upload a picture in just a second. So Opalite was the only song I actually liked on the album, my first listen through. And then I came on TikTok and I saw many Black female creators talking about the racial undertones that they heard in the song.
By the way, those racial undertones, are the racial undertones in the room with us? I'm pretty sure the only thing was that she said, "This isn't savage," but she was referring to savage as it's used to say like nonchalant or fierce. It's a slang term. She wasn't referring to Black people, but they somehow said that was a microaggression against Black people. Those are the racial undertones she's talking about.
Opalite. And I am in the business of listening to Black women. I think they would know what a microaggression sounds like against them way better than I ever could.
Oh my God. We haven't even gotten to the main point here, but I want to vomit. I just hit up Jimmy John's for that Kickin' Ranch snack wrap, and I feel it coming up right now. Because what do you mean? I just listen to Black women and I do what I'm told. I can't think for myself. I no have opinion. I just nod to Black women, do what they say. Are you serious? Are you an adult? Because you seem like you belong in a padded room, and we are 20 seconds into this video, my love. The other funny thing is, of course, most Black women would not find anything offensive about the Taylor Swift song. She's just referring to a couple of Black women TikTok creators who, that's their whole shtick, is just making up fake outrage so people pay attention to them on the internet. They have nothing else to offer social media, so that's what they do. But there's not as if there is did someone poll the Black community and ask them if they find this song offensive? Because I promise you it would be 90% plus don't. But yeah, you listen to Black women is such an absurd concept, as if they're some uniform collective and not individuals with different takes. Oh my God, this woke mindset of like, well, I'm the wrong skin color to think about this question. I must just defer. I genuinely hate it so much. Gosh.
Never could. And so my conclusion was that maybe Swift did not mean to be cruel or racist in the song. However, she is in a position of power. She should have known better. She should have understood that people would take it that way. And that's unfortunate. And I decided I was not going to stream the album anymore, right? Okay, so then today she puts out this. And yeah, actually, you know what? I do think the song Opalite is completely intentionally racial. And I am sick.
Guys, it's just a necklace with some lightning bolts and then like a little star thing at the bottom. That's it. That's all we're talking about here.
what the f is this? What the f is this? Okay, so
I think it's a necklace.
So this is the necklace promoting the song. There's a lyric where they say that they're dancing and the lightning strikes, so hence the lightning. And then we've got an opal light, I guess, in the center. Okay, so here's my problem immediately. So these lightning bolts are not normal lightning bolts. They are specifically SS lightning bolts. Okay, it is not ambiguous. That is exactly what it is.
So she's saying that these are Nazi lightning bolts rather than just the most obvious explanation would be, oh, this song talks about lightning, so she put little lightning bolts on the necklace. I suspect that's what happened here. She's saying that these are like from the Nazis, lightning bolts. And I pulled this up and it's literally not even the same shape. Like those were just, well, you'd probably be reading too deep into it anyway, but those lightning bolts, I'll put them on screen, but they're like rectangular and flat. They have flat lines at the top, whereas the ones in her necklace, let's see, they're not flat like that. Like they're diagonal, they're slanted. They don't even look like that. They just look like lightning bolts. This whole thing is just this woman hallucinating something, as if Taylor Swift and her whole team were just like, yeah, you know what? Let's do a secret dog whistle to the Nazis. I know I was campaigning for Kamala like 6 months ago, but I'm actually a secret Hitler fan. We're going to put a little code in here, use a symbol that kind of looks like a lightning bulb. Babe, you might be in psychosis. Like, I don't know how to tell you, you might be in active psychosis. Gosh.
And then if you'll look, there are 8 of them. Why does that matter? Because H is the 8th letter in the alphabet. Many Nazi, neo-Nazi circles, gangs will put 8, meaning Hitler. They'll put it in their bios. They'll tattoo it on their bodies. They'll put it on their motorcycles, their leather jackets. My dad was in a white supremacist gang. He had these tattooed on his body. It is why when you get a lightning bolt tattoo, if that's something you ever want, the tattoo artist is going to make sure, if they're a good artist, that they add an additional squiggle in there to make sure that there is no way that your lightning bolt tattoo could possibly be understood as an SS lightning bolt.
Well, so it's not. It's just a lightning bolt. It doesn't even look the same, and you just sound delusional. But also, the fact that there's 8 of them, what's more likely? That that's just what fit and what she thought looked good was 4 on each side? Or that she was secretly winking and nodding to the fact that H is the 8th letter of the alphabet, and Hitler's name starts with H. This is like gold Olympic medal level mental gymnastics. You're gonna pull something with this stretch, babe. And the thing is, if this was just one deranged woman who didn't take her Lexapro this morning, right? Then I probably wouldn't even talk about it. I'd just be like, oh, look, another woke lady crashing out, day that ends in Y. But this is all over TikTok. These are getting hundreds of thousands of likes. People saying that she did Nazi merch. And they actually are taking this seriously as if it's a real thing and not the hallucination of, I don't know. I prefer not to speak. I prefer not to, or I'll just say something mean about this woman.
I'm not reaching. The 8-8 thing is extremely common. That is extremely commonly known. That is an SS lightning bolt.
It's not, though.
You've never incorporated lightning bolts in your work before. Okay, and then we come down here, and that's an iron cross. That's a iron cross. And I think if the necklace itself was just a plain chain, then this would be fine. But it's not, and it is the sum of its parts, right? And so there are only 2 options here. Number 1, Swift's team and Swift herself, they put this out, and they genuinely just didn't know what they were doing, and it's a complete happenstance that it resembles any commonly used Nazi dog whistles, and that tells me that there is not a single Jewish person on her team anywhere, that there is not a single person with cultural sensitivity training, that there's not a single person that's ever opened up a history book.
Yeah, I have in fact opened up a history book, and I still don't see lightning bolts on a necklace from a song where it talks about lightning and think that it must be referring to differently shaped that look quite different Nazi lightning bolts. That's just you. And I actually think most Jewish people wouldn't think that either. Now, she may have a point that the woke sensitivity readers and like people who that's their whole job may see something, because that's literally their whole shtick, is like inventing offensive things to like catch, because they're and then perpetuate their own existence. So yeah, they might have noticed this because they too are primed to hallucinate oppression where none exists, like you.
On her team, right? So that's option number one. Or option number two, which is she knows exactly what this is, and that is what she decided to put out.
Think about that. Taylor Swift, the billionaire who quite recently campaigned for Kamala Harris, decided to put out a Nazi necklace, like literal Nazi SS themed. Do you hear yourself? Is there any reason she would do that? Is there any evidence that she's some secret, closeted, racist, white supremacist? No. Y'all are just bored. Or I actually saw one comment with a theory on this where it was like, no, these people are clinging to this kind of a thing because if they actually tried to grapple with the problems that really face society, they would feel hopeless because they're big and tough and complicated and serious and pressing and don't have easy answers. But if they just get all worked up over absolute nonsense, then it can feel like they're accomplishing something or doing something meaningful without them actually having to be able to analyze or dissect anything real, which I think whoever wrote that in the comments may be onto something with some of these people. Now, I'm not going to let this one finish. She keeps going for a couple more minutes. So she just needs to go see her therapist and up her dose of her Lexapro. Honestly, I want to show you one more video from my personal fave on TikTok. I think this is a non-binary man, so let's listen to his take on the Taylor Swift situation.
What do you mean the Taylor Swift dog whistle necklace is worse than we thought? Bro, it's literally 14 inches long. The 14 words is the main white supremacist dog whistle. It says more or less, but in exactly 14 words, that we must secure the future for our people and our white children. There's also 14 links in between each of the lightning bolts on the necklace. There's exactly 8 lightning bolts on the necklace, with an 8-point star at the bottom of it. The price is $35. 3 plus 5 is 8. And I'm not making this shit up. I'm doing exactly what the queen of the Easter eggs wants us to do. Easter, E-star. Is that what that star on the necklace looks like that? Do you know how hard you have to try to get every single major white supremacist dog whistle in one go? They saw the Sydney Sweeney Jeans campaign and was like, is Taylor Swift doing this herself? No, but there are multiple people on her team doing this very intentionally. Between the PR, the design, the website design, nobody said, hey, no, that's not how PR works. They would have literally said, hey, this kind of looks like that. Are we going to release it anyways, given the air of discussion around this new album and Taylor Swift in general? Outrage is a marketing campaign now. Didn't one of the songs have lyrics that said something like, I prefer my friends canceled? This was measured and planned.
Bro literally thinks the price of $35 is secretly a dog whistle because 3 plus 5 equals 8. And so it's Hitler. I think they could stretch anything. If the price was $42, well, 4 times 2 equals 8. So it must be I think they could twist anything at this point. And they're actually serious. And I'm worried. I'm worried that because it's not just them. If these TikToks had 10 likes on them, I would not be talking about them. These are popular videos. There are millions and millions of views on many of these videos. And hundreds of thousands of likes of people actually thinking this. And why does this matter, right? There's a couple of reasons this matters. One, it just shows like a complete lack of critical thinking among much of the public. Just the ability to engage in rational analysis is not in the room with us. It has departed. The train has left the station. And so society may just be cooked at this point with so many people just so untethered from reality and lacking basic critical thinking skills. But then two, why does this matter? Well, a couple of reasons. One is that if people are actually convinced that society is out of control to the point where billionaire pop stars are secretly like Hitler enthusiasts, that is how you get crazy people that go out and shoot people. or go out and commit an act of terror. They become wrapped up in these crazy ideas about how bad things are, even that are not really based in reality. And then they think the only thing they can resort to is some kind of extreme act. And I'm not saying these people intend for that to happen, but I am saying that that can be the result of spinning false alarmist doomsday narratives all the time across the spectrum, across the board. That can be the result. Now, two, the other problem, and I think we're seeing this happen with a lot of the discourse right now, is that by constantly yelling Hitler, by constantly yelling Nazi, by constantly yelling racism, white supremacy all the time about things that are literally not at all, they have watered these things down. And now, I mean, you have the rise of people who, with the Groyper adjacent Republican crowd, I think genuinely are white supremacists, genuinely hate Jewish people, genuinely have hatred towards a lot of women. These things, but like people, if you call them racist, people just roll their eyes and they're like, oh, okay, they're racist, just like Taylor Swift's necklace, right? It's like they have, people don't take these warnings and accusations seriously anymore. And I don't really blame them, but I still think we need to call out actual bigotry where it exists. And that is the direct product of people like this watering this stuff down time and time again. I don't know. That's what I think. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the like button, comment, yada, yada, yada. Remember, you can send me in a voicemail for my Voicemail Friday episodes where I react to your woke horror stories, give you advice on your personal life situations, and answer questions you guys have for me. The link to that is in the description. And up next, we're going to talk again about the, I don't even know how to call her or how to describe her at this point, but the YouTuber and podcast extraordinaire Candace Owens, who, you know, is kind of all over the place ideologically these days, but is spreading theories that we have unpacked on this channel at great length. But something interesting just happened where I'm actually going to defend Candace, despite my criticisms of her in the past. The country of Australia has banned her from entering their nation. And despite appealing it all the way to their highest courts, Candace is banned from entering Australia. Let's take a listen to a summary of this story from Brett America.
Candace Owens has been barred from entering Australia by the nation's highest court. Conservative commentator Candace Owens has been barred from visiting Australia because she failed the so-called character test used to evaluate applicants before granting them visas. The case was brought before Australia's highest court after Owens challenged Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke's 2024 decision to deny her a visa under the nation's Migration Act. Burke stated that Owens had potential to incite discord in the Australian community and decided that refusing to issue her a visa was in Australia's national interest. Burke said in court documents that Owens had made extremist and inflammatory comments toward Muslim, Black, Jewish, and LGBTQIA+ communities which generate controversy and hatred. Owens, seeking to begin a speaking tour in Australia, argued that the Migrant Act was unconstitutional because it infringed upon Australia's implied freedom of political communications, though Australia does not have an equivalent to the United States First Amendment that explicitly states a right to free speech. The High Court has decided that the Constitution implies free speech limited to governmental and political matters. Still, 3 High Court judges unanimously decided to reject Owens' challenge and have ordered her to pay the government's court costs. Inciting discord might be the way some people make money, but it's not welcome in Australia, Burke said in the statement following this week's ruling. Australia has long used the character test to refuse foreigners temporary visas. Earlier this year, Burke stripped Kanye West of an Australian visa after he released his single Hail Hitler. Burke's 2024 decision to bar Owens from the country prompted New Zealand to reject her visa application as well. However, a New Zealand immigration official overturned that refusal in December, citing the importance of free speech. A spokesperson for Owens stated that Owens plans to comment on the High Court's decision on social media later this week.
So I find this remarkable on so many levels, but it should go without saying that I've criticized Candace a lot. I disagree with her on many things. I think she spreads a lot of unfounded ideas and conspiracy theories, but I do not in fact think she should be banned from entering supposedly free nations to speak to audiences that would like to hear her speak. I mean, presumably, if she was planning on doing a speaking tour there, that means they have gauged interests. And there are some number of Australian, maybe right-leaning, maybe conservative people who want to hear what she has to say. And she should be allowed to go there and talk to them. And I don't believe it's a proper role for the government to come in and protect their citizens from what naughty ideas or dangerous people they're allowed to listen to speak, as if they can't just go on the internet and listen to her any day of the week. Anyway, it's also stupid. And this idea that, oh, well, her ideas are hateful, she's going to stir up disruption. Sure, I think some of the things she said are crazy. Some of the things she said are certainly hateful, but I mean, that's part of free speech, whether you like it or not. If you're not free to say things that upset someone, you're not actually free to speak. And in Australia, you're not at this point. They claim to be a liberal democracy. They claim to be a free society, but they're not. They don't even have free speech in legally recognized complete form in this country. And this is the kind of result of that, where you actually have them saying essentially a heckler's veto. Nobody can come to our country to speak if it might upset some people. So then what? Just the loudest and craziest and angriest people in your society get a veto over every event being held with a foreign guest? That's no way to run a country to me at all. And I would stand up for Candace's right to speak and not be censored or blocked from entering countries just because of her opinions any day of the week. The point I do want to make about this, though, and I actually wouldn't put Candace in this category because I think she has taken a different position on some of this stuff, but a lot of Republicans and conservatives who would be outraged by this are also, and be like, wow, what a crazy country, Australia, this is censorship, this is attack on freedom of speech, are the same people who cheer it on now as the Trump administration basically like blocks people from entering the country because they've criticized Israel, deports people because they've written articles criticizing Israel. And they say, well, foreigners have no rights to freedom of speech, which I disagree with, but like that's their position. And according to that logic, they have every right to ban Candace. So I would suggest that people think about whether they really want to be a society and a country that does this or one that doesn't. I would rather ban people who have kick people out of your country who commit crimes, only let them in for certain legitimate purposes, but don't just play speech police through immigration policy. Like if somebody wants to come to your country and be productive and have a whole speaking tour and people want to listen to them, I actually think you'll make them more popular by doing this, by the way, if your goal is to stop Candace Owens or stop anti-Semitism or anything like that. I think this only plays into her narratives. I think it will make her seem like forbidden fruit and like she's a dangerous truth teller the Australian government doesn't want you to hear from. And so it will only make her more popular with these people. And it's also kind of cowardly. It's saying that as the mainstream Australian media or liberal commentators in Australia, don't feel like you could actually take her on and debate her or challenge the things she's saying or refute her coverage, as I've done many times on my channel when I think she spews nonsense or spreads unfounded conspiracies or gets facts wrong. But stooping to censorship is also a confession. And look, this is why I think countries need to have stringent legal protections for the freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of assembly, and freedom of religion, even for foreigners, even for legal immigrants, not just for citizens. Otherwise, you end up in this two-tiered society where based on your legal status, you either have human rights or don't. I think freedom of speech is a human right, and I will gladly defend it for anyone, even the people I disagree with strongly on many things, like Candace Owens. And so I support her right to go to Australia, but apparently it won't be happening anytime soon because the Australian government thinks it's okay to pull stuff like this. What do you guys think? Especially the Candace fans and Candace haters in my audience. I'm curious for your opinion on all of this. Let me know in the comments. Do hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed, comment, yada, yada, yada. And that'll be it for today's episode of the Bread versus Everyone podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Do consider rating and reviewing the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts on audio platforms. And if you're watching on YouTube but you'd like to listen to podcasts on the go, do remember that the podcast is also available on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, yada, yada, yada. And oh my God, I say that way too much, yada, yada, yada. You guys must be triggered. But anyway, do consider rating and reviewing. Also, please recommend the podcast to a friend. That's the number one way the podcasts grow. And with that, guys, we'll talk again real soon.